Hello and welcome back to Music Theory Fluency. Today we're going to be going over the dominant 7 chord. Not just real fast, so we forget it real fast, but going over it 3 different ways to really engrave this knowledge into us and make sure we come away with this, spending time learning it, so that way we can have a long time of remembering it. Let's get started. To start building our dominant 7th chord, we first understand the 2 components of the dominant 7. The dominant 7 is built off of the major triad. So I can start off with my C majors. And this is the triad that forms the base of a dominant 7, as I would have the first 3 notes stay the same. The dominant 7 chord is considered an extended 7th chord by saying no longer are we playing triad chords with 3 notes, we are adding a 4th note, an extension. Root, 3rd, 5th, and a 7th. Now, it's definitely not the B natural, but the 7th chords will stack another 3rd, root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, to create this extra sound, to create a small level of tension, as regardless if we have a major or a minor 7th, they introduce an element of dissonance into the harmony that we hear. Our dominant 7th chord would add a minor 7th above the root. To find our minor 7th, we can start with the perfect octave. A half step lower would be the major 7th. And a half step below that, we have the minor 7th. In this case, C to B flat would be the minor 7th. I can now reintroduce the C major chord, my minor 7th, and we definitely get a sound that has more tension, more energy than just a normal C major chord. And this sound of tension is one of the fundamental colors of our Western music, not just in classical romantic art music, but in jazz, in pop music, in our Christmas carols. This dominant 7th sound is used so routinely in our Western music to create the sound of Western music. We'll do this with 2 more chords, where we actually even make a full octave chord to skip the step of the octave. Let's take next our G7. I have my G major chord, and I can now use the full octave chord, repeating the G on the top with an octave. I have my perfect octave, major 7, minor 7. And here would be my G dominant 7th chord, or as we'll see in lead sheet, it is called the G7 chord. We'll do one more. Let's take a trickier one. Let's take an E flat 7. I start off with my E flat major, E flat full octave, major 7, and minor 7. And there would be my E flat dominant 7, or often called E flat 7. Now that we know how to form these dominant 7th chords, let's learn a bit more about what they're used for and how they apply to our key signatures and our scalar material. If I start off in my key of C major, I'll take a 2-octave scale to establish the key of C major to my ear. Here I have my tonic up to dominant. And here I've got my dominant 5th note G. I now want to build a chord off of my dominant note. And I'm going to be including my root, 3rd, 5th, 7th. We notice the C major scale only uses natural notes. And when I use all naturals on a G chord, I get G dominant. And that is because G is the dominant chord in the key of C major. Dominant, resolving back to the tonic. Or it can resolve up, resolving up a perfect 4th to both the note C, but also the sound of the C major chord. And this is the release pattern of our Western music, is to take 5/7 chords and resolve them back to the tonic. This is one of the strongest ways we can establish the tonic to the ear, is to take dominant chords and resolve them to their tonic of their scale, Or if we're doing a modulation, if we're changing keys in a song, this is how we do it. We are starting in the key of C major, and then we say, I want to find a way to get into B flat major. Well, both melodically, we start incorporating more notes of the B flat major scale, and at the end of it, to establish that B flat major, there's going to be a dominant to tonic chord interaction. We'll take our B flat scale, tonic up to dominant. And now I start by building thirds, understanding the letter names first. F, A, C, E are going to be the 4 notes of the F dominant chord, but I've not stopped to consider my key signature yet. My key of B flat major has a B flat and an E flat. So as I talk through these, I've got an F natural, an A natural, C natural, E flat. And I get my F7, or my F dominant 7th chord, and it resolves back to the tonic B flat major chord of the key signature. Let's do this one with a tricky scale, where people start wondering, why would I ever need an A flat 7? Well, here I have my D flat major scale. Now this sounds like our tonic, tonic up to dominant. And I have my D, E, F, G, A, and A flat. To help better visualize this, we can go onto the white keys where we can see the A, and we can see the thirds that come off of the A, C, E, G. In my key of D flat major, I have 5 flats: B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, and G flat. So in this case, I have A flat, C natural, E flat, and G flat. And I get my A flat 7, and I get my dominant 7 to tonic resolution, giving a purpose for why A flat 7 exists musically. This same idea works with minor scales as well if we use the harmonic minor scale. We'll take, for example, our A harmonic minor in 2 octaves. And my A harmonic minor is everything natural except for G sharp. This is my tonic, tonic up to dominant. My dominant E. I now build my thirds. My thirds off of E are E, G, B, D. E natural, G sharp, B natural, and D natural. And this is what creates this dominant sound, is the harmonic minor moving the note that is needed for the dominant chord to exist. As it's created that leading tone that leads to the tonic, regardless if we're in a major key or a minor key. Now we can take what we've learned about how the dominant chord has a tendency to resolve back to the tonic note, either going up a perfect 4th or down by a perfect 5th to resolve the tension that the dominant 7 chord creates. I can start off in my key of C major with the C major chord, adding the minor 7th to get to the C dominant, or C7, and now that 4th note of the C scale, F. And the C7 would resolve to F major. I can now take my F major chord, get to F7, the 4th note of the F major scale, and our F7 resolves to B flat major. And here we notice we're just going around the circle of fifths, playing the major chord, turning it into a 5-7, resolving it into one position around the circle of fifths, creating the tension and resolution pattern that is why the circle of fifths exists the way it does for Western music. So now, without as much chatting, we'll go around the circle of fifths. From C, C7, resolving to F, F7 resolving to B flat, B flat 7 resolving to E flat, E flat 7 resolving to A flat, A flat 7 resolving to D flat, our D flat 7 resolving to G flat. We can also call this the F sharp. So in this case, our F sharp 7 resolving to B, our B7 resolving to E, our E7 resolving to A, our A7 resolving to D, our D7 resolving to G, and finally our G7 coming back all the way around, resolving back to our C major. A great exercise for not just being able to play dominant 7th chords, understand the notes in them, but understand where these chords want to go to. This same exercise can be done for minor as well, as even in minor scales, the dominant chord stays a dominant chord. It would simply resolve to minor. If I have a minor, A dominant resolves to D minor, D dominant resolves to G, G dominant resolves to C minor, C7 resolves to F minor, F7 resolves to B flat minor, B flat 7 resolves to E flat minor, E flat 7 would resolve to our A flat minor, also known as G sharp minor. Our G sharp 7 resolving to C sharp minor, our C sharp 7 resolving to F sharp minor, our F sharp 7 resolving to B minor, our B7 resolving to E minor, and finally our E7 coming all the way back around, resolving back to A minor. Regularly take this in major and minor, and you'll have such a better understanding of when you play a 5-7 chord by ear, where that 5-7 chord is pointing to. Happy practicing.